So the recording just started. So can everybody see the screen? Can everybody see the initial slide?
Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I also am putting in the chat a copy of these slides in a PDF format that should be available to any folks. So you're welcome to download those and have a look at those afterward if there's anything that I go by too quickly for you. So first, to introduce myself, good afternoon. My name is Cheryl Rice. I am the Conservation Innovation Grant Coordinator for the state of Ohio. So I manage the existing projects, and then here I am looking for more to do. I've been with the agency about 15 years, and I've had a chance to interact with the Conservation Innovation Grants projects now since 2017. We've got quite a few in the years. We've done over 40 since this program's inception in 2016 after the Farm Bill authorized conservation innovation grants here to allow it at the state level. So let's get started. You're welcome to use the chat to put in questions if you prefer that. Otherwise, there is an option up at the top to raise your hand. Hopefully, I will try my best to keep an eye on both. So if there's something that you need, or feel free also to speak up, that's fine. All right. So overall, conservation innovation grants, what's the goal and the purpose of the program? It is part of a larger program at the national level. We do conservation innovation grants out of national headquarters. There's multiple varieties that come out of that, a classic CIG or CIG, as well as on-farm trials and ones that are focused on soil health. The other component that we do is this one that we're talking about today, which is the state component. Every state has the flexibility based on the state conservationist discretion to spend up to 5% of their allocation from our environmental quality incentives program and put that towards innovative projects that can come through CIG. So the overall purpose of the program, meaning that all the CIGs, both the national ones as well as the ones here at the state level, the ultimate goal is to stimulate and develop adoption of new and innovative conservation approaches, new technologies, new opportunities for Ohio producers here in Ohio, to update and adjust current NRCS standards and specifications for our current and existing conservation practices. So we do lots of things. We have well over 130 here in Ohio of conservation practices that we offer in our environmental quality incentives program and our conservation stewardship program. And CIG is an opportunity to speak to those or edit or change or update those to maybe something new that's happening, a novel approach to any number of those things. We have engineering practices as well as management practices, vegetative practices. So CIG really can cover any of those areas as well. If you look at the statutory language and the language in policy, it's really meant to push conservation in agriculture forward for all users. So not necessarily projects here in Ohio might not necessarily just be doing good for Ohio producers. The information might be good for other folks in the same Corn Belt region or the Midwest or the Great Lakes region, or it might be things that we learn during a CIG that we can share nationwide or beyond. CIG also typically or commonly bridges a very solid new idea, novel approach to a field scale adoption level, meaning it's kind of taking that next step forward and testing something out to see how far the innovation can actually go. So what I like to do oftentimes, because we use the term innovation quite a bit, is making sure we define what the actual statutory language for this program actually defines as innovation. It's a pretty broad term. The term is described as being novel, under-adopted. That might be just in a geography. So if it's maybe heavily adopted in the South, but very limited adoption up in the Midwest, that's something CIG could do that would be innovative for this region or for the specific geography. CIG is really meant through innovation to address barriers. Those could be natural resource barriers, technology barriers, or communication and accessibility too. So think about that as far as folks that may be in an area that just don't have access to the new information to be able to take on a new approach to conservation. The ag industry that is being addressed in your CIG might not be addressed by current conservation practices at all. So it might be a total a vacuum or a need that is in need of proof of concept, more information and more data to actually make that conservation practice widely acceptable in the state of Ohio. Each year, CIG picks, both at the national level and at the state level, we pick natural resource targets. The ones at the national level rotate around. So this year you might have pollinator habitat at the national level, and then maybe the next 3 years it won't be in there, and then it'll come back around again in their rotation. So they have sort of a set chunk that they do, and they rotate through those over a series of 3 to 5 years. The state technical targets that we pick have the ability to reflect what the needs are in the state. So we have the ability to either hang on to some of these targets year after year as we kind of hammer away at needs or at gaps in information, or we have really the dynamic of pulling some things in as they come up in the state as imminent needs. So this is the list for this year, for fiscal year 2023. Climate smart agriculture has definitely risen to the top of the list. And really we're looking at, if you look at the language, which starts on page 7 of the NFO, it really goes through a number of things in climate smart agriculture that really lead to climate resilience on operations. And that's really sort of the technical target we're looking at there. Also urban agriculture. So when we talk about a CIG, everything in these 5 topic areas really should be looking at conservation-based innovations, things that are going to increase phosphorus efficiency, retaining sediment on site versus losing it, reducing compaction, things like that. So they might have production benefits, but the goal of the project should really be conservation, not production. So the language in the NFO is pretty clear on that, but I also wanted to highlight that now so you had a sense for when we say soil health, it's not just soil health for production benefit, it's actually soil health for the natural resource issue itself. So eligibility, who's eligible to apply for CIG? Well, it's pretty much everybody. It can be pretty much any type of entity or an individual that is not a federal agency. So this could be a nonprofit, a community-based organization, a farmer cooperative, an institute of higher education. There's all kinds of different folks. It also can be for-profit groups. We've also had professional groups like pasturing education reach out group or a professional organization like soybean or corn focused have also applied for CIGs in the past. So you really have quite a bit of flexibility all the way down to the individual level if there is an individual that has an innovation that they're looking at moving forward with. Within your CIG project, if you say are an institute of higher education and you're going to be recruiting some farmers to work either on their land or to have them participate in your innovation, those participating producers must meet the environmental quality incentives or EQIP program eligibility requirements. You don't necessarily have to pay them. You could be paying them a stipend or some sort of per acre benefit for things that they're doing. It's not required in CIG. But the program certainly likes to see producer engagement. We certainly like to see Ohio farmers having some say-so or some input on new and innovative approaches. It's certainly valuable in our eyes. And one of the other things I wanted to highlight here is a current and existing practice, operating practice inside any of our current Farm Bill programs, so EQIP or the Conservation Stewardship Program. If they're eligible to participate and do that through EQIP, we cannot pay them to do that in CIG. So really, say if you're going to do something innovative with, say, drainage water management structures, they're able to actually compete and actually get funded in that in EQIP. So as the current standard is written, I can't pay for that in a CIG, but if you had a new and different drainage water management structure that has some interesting innovations or telemetry, things that we currently don't make available, then that in fact is a new and novel approach to drainage water management, then that producer would be able to benefit from that, whether that's installing it on their property so they get the physical benefit on the landscape or a payment for them to do it there, either one. But again, if they are already participating in our Farm Bill programs and they are already doing practices, we can't pay them again for them in CIG. So that duplicate payment is in there as well as a prohibition. So some of the basics about the program. CIG, again, has been around since about 2006. The statute hasn't really changed in some of these aspects. It's still projects that are somewhere between 1 and 3 years. We kind of max out at 3. You are allowed to, if you reach or at the end, getting close to the end of your 3rd year, and there's still some things you needed to accomplish, that there's been some complications, we are allowed to do one 12-month extension, and that is it. And that would not necessarily add more any money. We would just be adding more time to accomplish the things in your project. So really the max out for any CIG in Ohio would be 4 years, but you could be short as 18 months if you felt like you could get your project done that quickly. We've had a few of those too that have come and gone in pretty quick fashion. The budget limits, and this is also in the NFO, so you're welcome to go double check in there as well. The minimum would be 50,000, and the top end would be 150,000. So it is a 1-to-1 match. So the project size range then with the 1-to-1 would be about 100,000 to about a $300,000 project. And the reason that cap is in there for the state of Ohio is once you get to about 150 or 300,000, and you start going larger than that, the National CIG Classic is probably a better fit for your project for that scale of spending. And the eligibility would be the same for that as it would be for this one. And we really didn't want to compete with the national program here in Ohio. We wanted them to have as much benefit for the size projects they're looking to fund. For that 1-to-1 match, that's so 50-50. So again, if you were asking for 50,000 in federal dollars, we'd need $50,000 in either cash or in kind. Our state conservationist does have the latitude to change that match to, instead of being 50-50, to being 25-75 if you are serving historically underserved producers, or if you have historically underserved benefits that are coming in through your technology, whether they're integrated with the program or that the project itself is serving that community of folks. And I can, as I share these slides, you'll see there is notes associated with that has the definition for historically underserved. So if you have any questions about that, please reach out. The funding restrictions section is on page 25 and 26 on the NFO. Definitely recommend that you take a look at that as you're putting together your budget for your project. There are some things that we just plain cannot pay for. I can't pay for entertainment or coffee for a producer meeting, but I am happy to pay for staff time that your experts would be coming in to talk to those farmers, say at a farmer field day. That's fine. So take a look at that closely. The hardest things that we run into are normally equipment based. So if you do have questions about that, if the items that you're looking at or whether they're supplies or equipment or how they kind of fall into the different categories, please reach out. Take a look at the NFO, but you're welcome to contact us as well. And my number and things will be here at the end of the presentation in these slides. So you're welcome to reach out and ask questions to sort of clarify those things. Your project really needs to demonstrate an evaluation component, meaning as you're working through your project, evaluating and capturing the level of success. Did you think it was going to do better than the current existing practice that's out there on the landscape? Did you think your new technology was going to make a difference, and how much of a difference did it make? Oftentimes this is a wrap up at the end of a project that's comparing and contrasting to what the existing base level of implementation looks like for any given practice or technology. Sometimes this is really an expert panel that comes in and takes a look at your results and data and gives you some summary and feedback on what you found. So just know that that evaluation component needs to be in there where you kind of tell us how well your project did. And I always want to pause here at this, and because we're working in innovation, we do expect some projects to not go as planned. When you're working on the front edge of technology and innovation, some things look like they're really great, but they end up not being a home run. So as I look through the CIG projects, again, I've had pulled the data and information on ones that we've done since 2006. They all haven't been home run. All of them haven't been 100% successful, which is sort of what you would expect, right? So we want to have sort of this expectation where you have a pretty good understanding that you think this technology is going to do what you think it's going to do at the field scale, but we're not expecting for perfection. Another component that needs to be in your project as well needs to be a technology transfer component. And what that means is whatever you learned in your project, even if it was learning that things didn't work well, we want that information and that conservation data and analysis and response to be shared back with our staff and really a larger audience as well. That would be great. So that technology transfer, whatever you learned from that new and innovative, say, water control structure, did you learn that the telemetry didn't do everything you thought it was going to do, that you really needed more maintenance on it than you thought you were going to, and that the producers didn't handle and manage it the way you thought they would like to based on its construction and its design? So we would want to know those things. So as we integrate and take that information back and pull it back into our current practices and standards, or the technology that we provide for producers, we've got enough data to support it, and we get a benefit from the project that actually serves our staff and then our clients and producers as well. Some more basics. So how CIG kind of happens. So there's a deadline. Those proposals come in. As a project manager, I screen those applications for completeness, meaning do they meet the criteria that was published in the notice for funding? Do they meet the program requirements, meaning they actually are asking to do conservation innovation and not something else completely? We do get some unusual things that come in sometime. Then we construct a technical peer review panel, and that peer review panel is a bit dynamic. Depending on the proposals we receive, we pull in technical experts for areas that maybe not be in-house. We are allowed in the CIG program to pull in technical experts from outside of the USDA. I oftentimes have folks that are technical experts in-house, as well as ones at our regional technical hubs, as well as some other folks that might be the technical experts here in Ohio that are outside of the agency. And they will all be doing some reviews and give some feedback based on the merit criteria that you'll see on pages 27 and 28 of the NFO. So that's typically takes somewhere between 3 and 6 weeks to kind of go through that technical peer review, depending on how many applications and proposals we get. We then go through, collect all of that feedback and sort of critique of your project. We put that in a summary document where we stack one project against another. We kind of rank them 1 to whatever. And that information is provided to our state conservationist. Our state conservationist then takes a look in that peer review information and makes an award decision. Typically, we're expecting that to be happening at the beginning of June this year. And then once those selections have happened and we start working with the selected applicants, a lot of paperwork goes into the Grants and Agreements Division to sort of to get those projects up and started. There is a little bit of an administrative and a risk review evaluation that gets done at that point. As soon as the Grants and Agreements Division starts seeing what the project's going to look like, oftentimes if they have any concerns or anything that they're going to look at, then they give us feedback right then if there's anything. And the term risk review is actually a fiscal risk review. So if an applicant has worked with USDA in the past and has not been fiscally sound with their either bookkeeping or requests for reimbursement or match or contribution, there is typically a score that they get inside USDA about their risk. And if there's any flags there, that they talk to us about that at that point. And then after all that's taken care of, a little bit of paperwork, and the final awards are signed. And then that's when you can start spending on your project. So some online resources I wanted to provide. So again, you have these slides as a PDF. All these links should be active for you. The grant itself is posted on Grants.gov, and there's the active link for it there. I can also throw that in the chat here before we sign off. There is a database, a national database of CIG projects that have happened, and these are some national ones as well as some state ones. It's a series of success stories as well as just some basic project descriptions that have happened since about 2006. Most of them are in there, so you can have a sense for what CIG has funded in the past and what's been successful and what other people have already tried to do. There's a whole page on grantee resources, and that's got everything from the grantee guide. So once you're selected, all the things that are going to be required, some templates, reporting templates, and again, some examples of what a fiscal budget should look like and things like that. I also put the link in for sam.gov. I know a lot of organizations are moving from a DUNS number to now a UEI, which is a unique identifying number, and there has been some delays there. So So definitely, if you do not yet have a UEI or a DUNS number with SAM.gov, that's something you need to get on pretty quickly. This changeover they've done from the DUNS number to the UEI has been very challenging for a lot of organizations. So as you're putting that together, if you're having any challenges with that, please reach out and let us know here at the state, so we can do as much as we can do on our side to keep you eligible. So when you submit. So again, all of the things that are in light blue and underlined are all the links that are available to these online resources. The actual CIG website that is at the national level is here in that link. Again, this is a hyperlink in there, and that it's got all kinds of good stuff about the basics of CIG, the different forms at the national level, both the on-farm trials and the soil health focus ones. So if those might fit your project well, then that would be good to look at. And again, this link here that says historically underserved, this link will take you to the definition of what USDA means when we say historically underserved producers, and if that fits with the target folks that you're working with on your project. So all good stuff there. So a couple things specific to this fiscal year's notice for funding announcement. The deadline for proposals is Friday, May 19th. So it's 11:59 Eastern time. Both successful and unsuccessful applicants will be notified via email. So the email that you put on that proposal, you really want to make sure it's the one that you're expecting to communicate with us with, at least at the beginning. Again, we're expecting the state conservationist to be making decisions at the beginning of June. Unsuccessful applications will also receive a summary of reviewer comments and feedback. And the reason we do this, this was a major change that came in this last Farm Bill from 2018, is many CIG applicants were concerned that they had applied and applied again and really didn't know sort of what was wrong with their project, why it wasn't getting selected. And so the Farm Bill really made it very specific that we're supposed to be providing adequate feedback so people know, what really is falling short in the project that they've proposed. So you will get that. I also, when I send that out to folks, I also offer to sit down and talk through those with you. So if you do want to go through bullet by bullet, happy to do that as well to help you tweak and move your project forward. Once selections happen in June, there is some paperwork that happens June, July into August with our grants and agreements division. So you really should expect to actually be able to begin your project somewhere in mid to late September, really no later than October 1. And then your projects can get up and get rolling. With me and the projects here in Ohio, I generally in the first year try to meet and do a kickoff meeting right after the signature happens. So once you have an active grant agreement, I will do a kickoff meeting and we'll go through some of the basics on reporting and progress reports as well as fiscal reports. And then also we go through a little bit of what it takes to get reimbursed for the expenses that you're charging to the project and how you report out on contribution and match. So we go through all of those things to try and get those folks. So if you do have other folks on your team that will be taking care of, say, the bookkeeping or people that are going to be taking care of the reporting, that you can have those folks on those initial calls. After that, we usually do, in the first year, I try and do kind of quarterly check-ins to make sure everybody's on the right page and that they're, all their concerns are their questions are answered. And after that, I let your project go do its thing. And we usually just check in at least once a year, but usually twice just to keep things all working in the right direction. So I have a question in the chat that says the link for success stories. And so that was this last page that I had. All of these things in light blue are actual. So in the PDF in there, if you tab to page 8 and you click on these, they should be live links for you to go ahead and jump over to that as well. So that should help. So here's my contact information, my email, and then the phone number as well. You're welcome to leave a message and have whatever questions you have. I really can't answer to very specific project characteristics. I can't say, well, that's a good idea or that's a bad idea or add that or don't add that. I can really just speak to program policy and to whether or not it's meets the program criteria or not in these discussions. And if you have any issues with Grants.gov, there's a link, a name, and a phone number there for the folks that can help you with Grants.gov, because that is definitely not my strong suit. I don't manage Grants.gov, and I don't get to do anything with that software. So any questions for me of things that you have about the project that you're looking at, the timelines, Anything in the NFO you didn't feel like was clear? Sure, go ahead.
Hey, I was asking about the links. So you were saying it's in this PDF you sent us?
Correct. Yes, on page 8. So they should be active links in that PDF.
Yeah, but I was not able to download or open it, so
Okay. Well,
I
let me
don't
give
know
you.
what happened.
Oh, that's okay. Well, it's probably just me. You never know. Here, I will send. Here's this. So here, let me go back to it here.
It says I'm not authorized to.
Oh, to open the
view.
PDF even. Oh, that's interesting.
Correct.
Oh, I will have to work on that. I'll clean that up then. And that'll get posted on the state CIG website. But the national CIG, I just put the hyperlink there for the most important page on the national CIG. Here, take that back here. Let me undo this. Go ahead and close that off. Here, hold on a second as I try and get the right page here. There we go. And you don't want all of this, you don't want all of that. And I will pull up what that shows you. So hopefully this is some help. So here's the national site, but what's nice about it under this applicants tab, which is the link that I plunked in the chat, it really goes through how you do application and what that looks like. This is a little bit from the national CIG that has yet to come out this year, by the way, but it gives a little bit of what a commitment letter would look like, and other resources for interested applicants. Again, historically underserved definition, a little bit about grantsmanship. So it's a little bit about what's the best way to actually put a grant together if that's new for you. And then again, the SAM link is in here as well. And I do encourage you to take a look at that for your organization. That just tends to be something that's taking a long time right now for some reason. And what's really nice, if you really want a snapshot of where you're headed, meaning once you're granted, what does it look like? This tab here under grantees, I found to be exceptionally helpful. It really goes through all the different bits you would be needing to manage your grant. It's got a whole guide for it, but then it has the reimbursement forms as well as the reporting forms are all in here. So that's super helpful. This has been used a lot, and this is the same for the national CIGs as it is here for the state CIGs. So they're all in there, but I will see what I can do. I'm not sure why this saves differently, so you wouldn't have it. I should be able to save it in a format that would be good for you, but I will do my best for that. See, I've got it in there. I'm not sure why. Well, I will work it out. That'll get posted on the state CIG website, which is in the NFO as well. So you'll have that as an available thing to go get access to. So this recording as well as those slides will be up there for you in both spots.
Thank you.
And oh, you're welcome. Sorry that didn't work out the first time. I was hoping that would be a good for you. So any other questions for me about, like I said, the length of the most projects, I come in as a three-year project. The nice thing is about the natural resource targets is there's a lot of opportunities there. We have a lot of needs here in Ohio. So between soil health, urban agriculture, water quality, and a lot of what we want to see for climate smart, that really opens the door to lots of different innovations and things that I know folks are working on here across the state. And my hope is we get lots of good competitive proposals this year and we get a lot of interested folks because these CIG projects really do help to push NRCS forward with what we're doing to help producers out there. All righty. Well, if there's no more questions, I won't keep you on too long. Again, keep an eye out here in about a week and a half. If you need to, access this recording, it'll be on the Ohio CIG website. And just type in Ohio NRCS CIG and it'll pop up. That one works pretty reliably there. And then, feel free to reach out if you've got additional questions about your projects. Thanks so much for your time.